go along with this, cooperate with this. We'll be as nice as we can to you within the limits of keeping you prisoner. If you don't go along with this, we'll probably take you into the bed, tie you down, rape you, shoot you, and bury you.
Imagine answering a simple personal ad, looking for love, friendship, or a fresh start. Now imagine that decision leading you into one of the most disturbing nightmares ever uncovered in American history. In the quiet woods of Northern California, behind an ordinary-looking cabin, a man named Leonard Lake was building a secret world of torture, control, and murder, a world he believed would survive the collapse of society itself. Leonard Lake was born in San Francisco, California. From a very young age, his life was unstable. His parents separated early on, and by the age of 6, Leonard and his sisters were sent to live with their grandparents. Even as a child, Leonard showed deeply disturbing behavior. He developed a severe sexual obsession, blackmailing his sisters and secretly photographing his mother while she was completely naked. His violence escalated further when he began killing animals, starting with mice, burning them with acid. His grandmother witnessed these acts but failed to stop him. In fact, her indifference only encouraged his behavior and allowed it to grow more extreme. As he grew older, Leonard's mental state continued to deteriorate. He joined the U.S. Marines and served during the Vietnam War, but his service was short-lived. He suffered a mental breakdown and was hospitalized. Although he briefly returned to duty, he was eventually diagnosed with a severe personality disorder and discharged. After leaving the military, Leonard moved to San Jose, California, and enrolled in college, but dropped out after just one semester. During this time, he became involved with the hippie movement, a countercultural group that promoted peace, freedom, and drug use. Through this group, he met a woman and married her, but the marriage quickly fell apart when she discovered his disturbing sexual interests and involvement in pornography. Years later, Leonard married another woman named Cricket, who not only accepted his desires but actively participated in them. This relationship marked a major turning point in his life. Not long after, Leonard met a man named Charles. Accounts differ on how they met. Some say through a magazine advertisement, others say through military connections. But what matters is what followed. Charles was born in Hong Kong. His father was a powerful corporate executive who treated him harshly, often using physical punishment. From a young age, Charles developed a compulsive obsession with stealing. He was arrested as a teenager for shoplifting and later expelled from schools in the United Kingdom for theft. He eventually joined the U.S. Marines, but was discharged after stealing weapons. Charles moved to California, where he met Leonard Lake. Together, they formed a deadly partnership. With the help of Leonard's wife, they built a hidden bunker deep in the woods. Inside that underground chamber, they carried out acts of kidnapping, torture, sexual assault, and murder. Their crimes began in the early 1980s, and one of their victims was Leonard's own younger brother. He also murdered his closest friend. In total, investigators believe they killed more than 25 people, though many victims were never identified. Leonard filmed several of the victims before their deaths, documenting the abuse on video. These recordings later became some of the most disturbing evidence ever reviewed by law enforcement. Their crimes finally came to an end when Charles attempted to steal equipment from a store. The shop owner stopped him and called the police. When officers arrived, the situation worsened. Stolen identification documents were found, including IDs belonging to people who had been reported missing for months. Police also discovered a suppressed firearm registered under another person's name. This led authorities to search their property. What they found was horrifying. Buried containers filled with stolen personal items, human bones, and videotapes showing women being raped and tortured. Only a fraction of the victims were ever identified. Leonard Lake knew he would never leave prison alive. While in custody, he swallowed cyanide pills he had hidden in his clothing, choosing death over facing trial. Charles, however, survived. He was later convicted and sentenced to death, where he remains to this day. This case remains one of the most disturbing examples of hidden evil, a reminder that some of the darkest horrors can exist right next door, unseen. By the time police uncovered the cabin in the woods, the evidence pointed to more than 25 victims. Men, women, and even children. Most never had a chance to escape. Many were never identified, and some were erased completely. Leonard Lake's crimes didn't begin with strangers. They began with his own family. In December of 1982, Lake picked up his younger brother, Donald Stephen Lake. Donald had been mentally disabled since childhood, after being struck by a train. He depended heavily on their mother, something Leonard deeply resented. He referred to his own brother as a leech and told his ex-wife that Donald didn't deserve to live. Donald was never seen again. Soon after, Leonard resurfaced under a false name, Alan Dre. He stole Donald's identity, cashed his disability checks. Then others began to disappear. In May of 1983, Leonard invited his close friend, Charles Donald Gunner, the best man at his wedding, on a road trip to Las Vegas. Days later, Lake returned alone in Gunner's van. He told people that Gunner had run off with a woman. Gunner was never seen again. Leonard stole his identity, cashed his government checks, and lived as him for months. Gunner's body wouldn't be discovered until 1992, buried beneath the Wilseyville property long after the crimes were exposed. By 1984, the disappearances accelerated. Reginald Reggie Frisbee vanished from San Francisco. He was never reported missing. His remains were found at Lake's cabin in 1985, but his identity remained unknown for nearly 40 years, until January 2025, when genetic genealogy finally gave him his name back. Around the same time, Maurice Anthony Rock disappeared from a rooming house where Lake was living under a fake identity. A neighbor later recalled seeing Lake removing a refrigerator from Rock's room. Rock's remains were eventually found buried on the property. In May of 1984, Jeffrey Dean Askren failed to show up for work. His car was found abandoned near Lake's cabin. His remains have never been identified. Then, on July 11, 1984, something rare happened. Someone survived. Donald Giulietti, a San Francisco radio personality, answered a knock at his door after placing a personal ad. The man standing there pulled a gun and shot Giulietti in the head. His roommate, Richard Carrazza, was shot in the chest, but survived. Carrazza later identified Charles Ung as the shooter. 2 weeks later, an entire family vanished. Harvey and Deborah Dubbs, along with their 1-year-old son Sean, disappeared after 2 men arrived at their apartment. Deborah had been on the phone with a friend when the doorbell rang. She ended the call and was never heard from again. Video equipment from their home was later found at Lake's cabin. Throughout late 1984, the pattern continued. Randy Vern Jacobson vanished after becoming involved in a business deal with Lake. Paul Stephen Cosner disappeared while trying to sell his car to a man he described as weird. Cheryl Lynn Okoro went missing from the same rooming house as earlier victims. Her photos and writings were found at the cabin, but her body never was. In early 1985, more victims vanished after crossing paths with Lake or Noor Clifford Parenteau, Jeffrey Dean Gerald, Michael Sean Carroll, and Kathleen Elizabeth Allen, last seen getting into a car with Leonard Lake. Both Carroll and Allen appeared later in disturbing videotapes recovered from the cabin. Then came the final family. In April of 1985, Lonnie Wayne Bond Sr., his girlfriend Brenda Sue O'Connor, their 1-year-old son Lonnie Jr., and a family friend, Robin Scott Stapley, vanished from Wilseyville. The adults were later found buried near Lake's property. Brenda's remains were officially identified in 2025. The child was never found. Leonard Lake didn't just murder people, he erased them.
Life, as I'm living it, is boring. The challenge of this project, the excitement, the thrill if it succeeds, even the exciting experience if it fails, as long as I don't get caught. Very attractive. It's something that I fantasize daily about. We'll see. I don't think there's more to say on the subject. This hopefully will be a history. Starting tomorrow,